Okay, so picture this. There's a massive superhighway system inside your body. We're talking a 60,000-mile network that carries all the life-sustaining traffic to every single one of your cells. This is your vascular system. And, when it's running smoothly, you feel great. But when there's trouble on this highway, a traffic jam, a weak spot in the road, a total blockage, well, the consequences can be absolutely devastating. So, what are the biggest threats to this incredible network? We're going to break down the 4 major dangers that cause all those traffic jams, potholes, and even those system-wide failures on your body's superhighway.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we'll dive into the pressure problem, then clogged pipes, and after that, we'll look at weak walls and dangerous clots. But we're not just going to focus on the problems, no way. We're going to wrap it all up with a practical, hands-on playbook to keep your system running just the way it should.
Let's kick things off with threat number 1, the pressure problem. This is all about hypertension or high blood pressure. It's a condition you've probably heard of, but its real danger? Well, it lies in just how silent it can be.
And the scale of this problem, it's just staggering. An estimated 121.5 million adults in the U.S. have high blood pressure. To put that in perspective, that makes it the single most common health issue that doctors see in primary care. It's huge.
So what is it exactly? Well, think of your arteries like garden hoses. Hypertension is basically like having the water pressure turned up way too high, all the time. Over the long haul, this constant, powerful force starts to damage the delicate inner lining of those arteries, and that just sets the stage for some really serious problems down the road.
Now you should know that not all hypertension is the same. The vast majority of cases are what we call primary or essential hypertension. This is the kind that just kind of develops over time from a mix of your genetics, getting older, and lifestyle stuff. Then you have secondary hypertension. That one's a direct result of another medical condition, like kidney disease or even certain medications.
And the danger here can get extreme. I mean, if your blood pressure skyrockets to these levels, we're talking over 180 over 120, it's a full-blown hypertensive crisis. This is a true medical emergency that needs immediate treatment to prevent organ damage, a stroke, or a heart attack. It's no joke.
Okay, let's move on to our next threat, which is really a problem of flow. If hypertension is about too much pressure, this is all about literal blockages in the pipes. We're talking about something called atherosclerosis, and its direct consequence, peripheral arterial disease.
Atherosclerosis is the underlying culprit here. Basically, it's a process where all this gunk, fatty deposits, cholesterol, other stuff, builds up inside your artery walls. It forms a hard substance we call plaque. And this plaque narrows the arteries, restricting blood flow, just like a hopelessly clogged drain pipe.
Now, when this pipe clogging happens in the arteries of your limbs, and it's usually your legs, we call that peripheral arterial disease, or PAD for short. The hallmark symptom is something called intermittent claudication. It's a really distinct cramping, burning muscle pain that shows up when you exercise and then poof, it's gone when you rest.
What's so crucial to understand is that PAD gets worse in these really predictable stages. A lot of the time, it starts silently. You don't feel a thing. Then, that classic pain with activity shows up. But if it's left unchecked, it can get so bad that there's pain even when you're just sitting down. And in the most severe stage, the lack of blood flow actually leads to irreversible tissue death.
Now, a really serious complication of all this poor circulation is the development of ulcers. But listen, not all ulcers are the same. Arterial ulcers, which are caused by a lack of blood flow to the area, they tend to be deep, really painful, and located on the toes. On the flip side, venous ulcers are from blood pooling in the area, and they're usually more superficial, and you'll find them around the ankle. It's a key difference.
Okay, our third category of threats involves failures in the vessels themselves. This covers 2 very different problems. You've got structural failures in the arteries, the weak walls, and then you've got these dangerous traffic jams in the veins, which we're going to call venous backups.
So first up, the weak walls. An aneurysm is basically a bulge or a ballooning in the wall of an artery. After years and years of high pressure and plaque buildup, a spot in that arterial wall can get weak, causing it to stretch and swell out. Seriously, it's a lot like a pothole or a weak spot in a tire that's about to blow.
So what causes them? The number one cause is atherosclerosis, and they often form in the body's main artery, the aorta. We call them silent killers because they're typically asymptomatic. You don't feel a thing until the absolute worst happens: rupture. A burst aneurysm causes massive internal bleeding, and that is a truly catastrophic medical emergency.
All right, let's switch gears from arteries to veins and talk about those backups. Venous thromboembolism, or VTE, is the big umbrella term for a blood clot, also known as a deep vein thrombosis, or DVT, that forms in a deep vein, usually in the leg. You can think of this clot as a major traffic jam completely blocking up the vein.
So the big question is, why do these dangerous traffic jams even form? Well, for more than 100 years, medicine has used this classic model to explain it, and it's known as the Virchow triad. It perfectly outlines the three conditions that just set the stage for a clot to develop.
Yeah, it really comes down to this perfect storm of three things happening at once. First, blood flow slows way down or starts to pool. That's called stasis. Second, there's some kind of injury to the vein's inner lining. And third, the blood itself becomes stickier and more prone to clotting. When those three conditions line up, bam, the risk of a dangerous clot just skyrockets.
All right, so we've explored the major threats to your vascular superhighway. But enough of the scary stuff. Now, let's pivot from the problems to the solutions. This is your action plan, your playbook for keeping that highway open, clear, and running smoothly.
First thing on the list, nutrition. The DASH diet, which stands for Dietary Approaches to Stop Hypertension, is a totally proven plan. And it's not really about restriction, it's about making smart choices. You know, loading up on whole foods like fruits and veggies, and dramatically cutting back on sodium, which is a major driver of high blood pressure. Next up is movement. Consistent aerobic activity is absolutely key. But there's also this really powerful, specific strategy for folks with PAD. Walk right up to the point of that pain, stop and rest, and then walk just a little bit farther. This actually encourages your body to build tiny new blood vessels to get around the blockages. It's like your body is building its own detours. How cool is that?
Okay, this next one might seem really simple, but for someone with compromised circulation from PAD, this is absolutely 100% critical. See, because of the decreased sensation and poor blood flow, a tiny little cut or a blister can turn into a serious, non-healing ulcer. So, daily foot inspection? It's a non-negotiable part of the playbook.
And that brings us to the end. Your vascular system never, ever takes a day off. It works tirelessly 24/7 to keep you alive and well. So the question I want to leave you with is this. Looking at everything in our playbook, what is one small, actionable change you can commit to this week to help it do its job?